Good evening and welcome to Speaker Club Saturday night number 114. Last week was an interesting session with the hacks of communication on how we can make it impactful and do the little things right through which we can get a lot of things right in their own way and to get a deeper impact of what we're doing. Let's listen from the people who attended last week's sessions of how they found the change and what changed in the last 1 week from the previous session. Over to you, Ellen.
Yeah, actually, what I used to mail much actually. So what I'm doing now, I'm exactly telling them this is so and so. I'm expecting this time. This is if I one more thing also added. If it's not there, this is the second plan. Both things I have added. Actually working actually. Reason actually not, I used to do that bullet points. Now wherever required, I'm actually only that pointing out that separate mail, even explanation. That is only particular points I require explanation. Also, I'm started doing that one. Yeah, it's okay actually that communication effectively I can communicate. I can tell even messages also. WhatsApp message also I'm doing that one. This is so and so particular things like that. Unwanted message not there. Directly matter. This is so and so. Not asking suggestion. This is mine. Like that I'm putting in closing.
Interesting. A change in tonality and making the messages crisp and detailed. Interesting. Thank you, Ellen, for that. Dinesha.
So considering the holidays, I got a very less opportunity to implement these skills, whatever the acts we learn. But one example, I received one of the email from the partner is supposed to be go to the next level, my next level supervisor to respond that. In between, they mentioned my name also because I look after South. Before like assigning to my supervisors to respond on that mail, I gone through that clear email, and there were some loopholes were there. Just I find out like A to Z what is there, what my supervisors take action. Then I reverted to the person who wrote that email. This is what here the loopholes are there. Please get back to that so that our supervisor will respond to that email. That's what the one way it helped. Majorly, I didn't get an opportunity to utilize these acts.
Thank you, Dinesha, for that. Akanksha.
Haven't spoken much in the earlier session, but I did listen to it, and two main points have stuck to me. One is keeping the content crisp. Though I haven't been able to implement it fully, I've at least been self-aware whenever I'm making it a long story rather than explaining it or cutting it short. So self-awareness, like always, is the first step. And second one is that the questions I'm able to ask, I've been asking better questions than open-ended questions. Something that has a definite answer and that could get a definite answer for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Akanksha. Anyone else? Vijaya, you are outside. If you would like to still speak or you want to skip, that's okay. Sri Krishna or Uma ma'am, anyone?
So, hello, good evening. So for me, it's again somewhat same to what Lakshmi Narayan said. So it's about mails actually. So writing mails, I nowadays follow a template while writing mails. So what it helps is it makes the content crisp and to the point. So the unnecessary points are removed. So in that aspect, I said the previous session, from the previous session I improved.
Thank you, Sri Krishna, for sharing those. Yeah, Vijaya, once you're back home, you can share your inputs. Yes, you want to try? Go ahead.
Please pardon for the noise. Yeah. So one thing I earlier I had one workshop. So every time I asked the close ended.
Maybe once you're back home, we can't. You can just remind to share this once you're done. So hi, who's with the name iPhone? I'm sure you're not Apple. There must be a name. Look forward to renaming you, and please do rename yourself. And let's get going with today's session. Today's session, interesting with regard to the idea that began late towards the end of 90s, the 90s of Speak Up Club, wherein we got this idea of collective wisdom. The premise behind the collective wisdom is that each one of us with whatever we are going through and whatever situations or problems or experiences that we are having, the fact is someone somewhere has already experienced this and they have solved it. And they have made wonders looking at how they're able to work around that challenge. And that is where this platform, the Speak Up Club platform, with the diversity that we have, I thought let's work around using the diversity and the experiences of all individuals that we are in this group, with the diversity of every facet. The age, we have Akanksha, who is 15-year-old, and Uma ma'am, who's over 50 years old. We have the gender differences. We have male, female. We have the different people from different religions, different professions, different experience in their work, different locations. We are people of all kinds. And to a large extent, this is where the collective wisdom can be built, with each one of us bringing to the table of how we are dealing with things and how we have got results from the things, the problems that we have experienced, the roadblocks or the challenges that we have experienced. This is where the answer lies. We often think when we are in a smaller circle, each one of us have the similar experience, but with diversity, each one comes with their experience of their own different challenges and different environments and different solutions which have worked for people. And for that very reason, when today's session was titled Life Hacks, different facets of our life pose different challenges to us. And yet, the answers to them lie somewhere in the people whom we are surrounded with in this community. So we begin with this session with a simple rule, I would say, is to seek anything that you're experiencing, any challenge, any roadblock that you're experiencing, ask. Maybe someone here could have the answer to that. And more importantly, share. Share the wisdom that you have gained, share what works for you. May not work exactly in the same way for someone else, but what works for you is what I'm looking for, because that is the wisdom that you and only you have it, because you have experienced it. So while you're sharing, please make sure you're doing two things. One is keeping it crisp, and the second thing is to make sure you tell your side of the story rather than something that you have read somewhere, you have heard somewhere, you have seen or read this in a book somewhere. Tell how has it impacted your life and how have you found the results in your life. Please note, for everyone, do contextualize that this is relevant to that person, and you can give it a shot of how it can be working wonders in your life too. May not be the complete and the perfect answer, but it could find a solution or move you or nudge you in a direction in which you can start finding a solution to that specific life hack or life challenge that you are experiencing right now. So what we'll be doing is, given that we are just the topics that we have chosen are something which are generic in nature, and I feel everyone does experience them a lot. And what has worked for us, you can share that so that we can start seeing of how it is relevant and works as a solution for each one of us. So let's begin with the first idea that I had, was what Akanksha began with by asking that this is something that works for me. I'm not sure whether it works for everyone or not. Time. How many of y'all experience or feel that you're always short of time? I've always had this challenge that for the things that I do, possibly I'm getting into too many things, but yet the fact is I have little time. I'm not able to manage my time in a way I would love to, in doing all the things that I'm doing in an effective way. So let's talk about what has worked, or how do you manage your time? Let's begin with anyone who would like to start. Ellen, go ahead.
Yeah.
And I'll be using during the session, so that I don't interrupt you, please see, I'll be using something called as a raise hand whenever I want you all to stop or close the point, so that it doesn't look rude that I'm trying to stop you, but we'll see, so that we can cover more and more points and more hacks from everyone's life. Ellen, over to you.
Yeah. Actually, I used to think before I don't have time, I do multiple things. I overcome that one actually. How I overcome that one? Past 3 months actually, I'm getting up 5 o'clock morning, 5:30. I'm getting up actually through mom madam only. I got that idea actually. So what actually 5 a.m. 5:30 I'm get up. So I simply when club is there, I used to join that 5 a.m. club. then actually I have 6 o'clock. I will start my to-do list, what I'm going to do in office. So 6 to 6:30, after 6:30 to 7:30 walking like that. So earlier what I had done, I will get up 8:30 or 8 o'clock. I will rush my home. They will also feel actually pressure like that. So office I will go. I will work actually 7:30 or something. I will come and tired and sleep. This is happened earlier. So what I am doing now, multiple alarms I'm putting. 11:30, 8:40. I need to actually you need to go and get bath like that. Again 11:30 one alarm. 1:30 lunch. Again 4:30 report, daily report. 6 o'clock get out from office like that one alarm. So I'm doing like that. I'm managing my time. Thank you.
Interesting. Thank you. Thank you. Akanksha, would you like to share something? Priscilla, after that?
I have quite the contrary story, sir. So not this maybe.
That's okay. Go ahead. Go ahead. What works for you? How are you able to accomplish in the same 24 hours that each one of us is blessed? How are you able to accomplish things?
No, I'm not able to. So maybe I'll try for the next other time.
Okay, no issues. Thank you. Thank you for that. Priscilla, go ahead. Priscilla, you can unmute.
Hi, hello. Good evening to everyone. Actually, I message I. It means what I means I am not able to maintain the time, manage the time actually. So that is the problem. Always I will be like a latecomer only.
Interesting.
I'll always have shortage of time. I try my level best, but some or other reason I will be late always. So kindly help me how to manage my time.
Interesting. Let's hear from anyone else. Dinesha, would you like to share something on time management? What works for you, Dinesha? He's busy. The kid is busy. Okay. Yes, Uma ma'am, go ahead.
Yeah, like everyone has 24 hours, but how we make use of those 24 hours is in our hands. So what I do is I have a to-do list and I keep ticking it as I finish my work. And I even visualize the previous day that I am going to achieve all this. And once I always visualize and I achieve it also the next day. So I have a great satisfaction of having doing it, and I tick off once I have done everything, and that keeps me going.
Yes, sir.
And
Time
sometimes
management, maintain the to-do
when
list.
you go to Facebook or WhatsApp, I feel that I lose more time on that. From one thing to other, I keep jumping. So I have to restrict myself on that and make my time more productive. See that I spend my time productively. Otherwise, I keep myself busy. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else would like to share their hacks on how do they manage their time well? Dinesha, go ahead.
Yeah, sir. If you want to make time very well managed, first thing our body has to support. The one habit which I have is like do the physical exercise, some refresher exercise. We call it as a loose exercise. Every day I do that 30 minutes so that energy will carry till the night 10 o'clock. That is the one boosting things I do. Second is that, as Ellen sir clearly mentioned, to-do list. Otherwise, we'll focus on one thing and we'll left over so many things. That will help us to remind and look at the diary, like which are all the work plan for the today. Somewhat, if you're not able to complete 100%, we will reach around 70%. In that way, these two things will help me. And the end of the day, the third axe is like, what is the value I have added for the day? So that I can able to connect it. Is there any worth spending today? What is the value added for the day?
Interesting. Thank you, Dinesha, for sharing that. Transformation zone. Go ahead. You're on mute.
I'm sorry, sir. I'm sorry, sir.
Go ahead.
I rename it.
No issues. Go ahead.
Okay, ma'am. Okay, sir. Good evening, sir. Actually, the question is that how I manage my time. Am I right, sir?
Yeah. Any specific tip that works for you?
Okay. So actually, which I understand in my life that I can't manage the time, I can manage myself. So which I did that simple thing from the earlier, that I take list of important tasks and I try to focus on that important tasks only. Everything will manage after that if I am able to do it.
Thank you, Ajay. I'll just share my thoughts over here on this. A little bit of an alternative view, I would say, from what a few of things mentioned here. When it comes to to-do lists, I've always felt to-do list is a good place to start time management. But as you progress, it becomes a little challenge, because when you look at the to-do list, more often than not, you start targeting ticking that more than the quality of work that you're doing. And you'd always choose the easiest task and then complete that. So what happens is that, in effect, the most important things which are there in the to-do list keep getting pushed ahead, because you are focused on completing the to-do list more than completing the important tasks. So if you wish to believe, or if you wish to continue with the to-do list, I've found one more detail in that to-do list which helped me focus and get the better out of time, is to plan your time. Plan your time rather than plan your task list. So as an example, I have these tasks which are there, and based on priority, if these are things which are the most important, what I rather go and do is, for the time 3 to 4 p.m. today, I will be doing only this. For the time 7 to 7:30 p.m., I'll be doing only this. So what happens is that when you start pushing your time zones to the priority, it does not become convenient for you to choose any of the things which are to be completed in the to-do list. And more importantly, when you're focused, very focused time, I'm talking of this 45 minutes, 1 hour, 30 minutes, whatever you're planning, when you know that this is the time that you have to work on this element, you automatically start working, because you know at 4 o'clock when this is done, I'll get time for playing also, I'll get time for Netflix also, I'll get time for other things also. But this is a time I want to focus on this most important thing which is to be covered. In that ways, the things which are priority get closed. Second thing in that, Ellen mentioned about waking up at 5:30. I prefer sleeping at 1:30. Individual style differs. For me, it is far more a task to push myself to wake up in the morning, than which is much easier for me to push from 11 to 1 o'clock by focusing on what I'm doing and working on it. Individuals differ. So it doesn't have to be a case where 5 o'clock you have to wake up, because that is a task in itself. But for me at 11 o'clock, if I want to push myself for another 1 hour working on something, it isn't a task. It's just stretching what I'm doing. So while you're in a momentum of things, I'm saying it works for me. Please note that. I'm saying it's work for me. While you're in a momentum, going to bed and sleeping off is a task that you're doing, while waking up and getting up and starting your day is a different task. So the effort here is in continuing what you're doing or beginning what you're doing. The challenge is different for different people. Comfort, ease, what do we say, the quality of work that you're doing, the kind of focus that you'll be having at night 12 o'clock differs for individuals. People say at 5 o'clock your focus is very high, very much possible, and it works for a lot of people. For me, based on my observation, I felt it doesn't work for me, and I'm much more, with regard to the peak performance of my time, I'm far more focused at night 11 p.m. than I am at morning 5 a.m. Individuals differ. That's the reason I said what works for you is what you have to consider and think and how it works. Ellen, go ahead.
Yeah, actually, in my college days, what I used to do, up to 2 o'clock, I will study. I will not morning, I will not do in my exam time. But now, actually, my some health routine or something, office evening, actually, I'm coming tired. So I changed actually. Evening, I can't go gym or walking like that. So that's the reason actually that one to-do list, what I used to do, I will continuously track my to-do list. I will not actually 10 things are there means today I'm not done means tomorrow I'll do. Priority basis I used to do. What is the important that I will complete, I will do. Actually, that's working for me. Reason actually past 6 months or the past 6 months I struggled, but last 2 months I'm achieving a lot of things. Actually, I'm spending reason 8 hours. I'm spending 8 hours office, 8 hours sleeping, 8 hour personal or something is there, right? Like that I'm spending personal or taking rest even though much. So like that, if you're doing means actually it's working. So that's the reason I suggested actually.
Interesting. Yeah. So again, I was not countering anyone. Just wanted to mention about discussing what works for individuals and what is your self-awareness of what's working for you. AJ, go ahead.
Hello, sir. I wanted to say something about your point. Actually,
Go
it
ahead.
worked for me also once time, and how I just take it. I just wanted to explain that you told me that from 8 to 10 or from 5 to 6, if you block that time for a particular task, yes, time blocking is actually too much useful. Why? I used to that it is a lock actually at the time of time. So suppose I think that I will study for 2 hours, I just lock in my room here. I just lock because I just lock that room and picture it and send it to my friend. That is time lock for 2 hours. It means for study only. At that time I feel one thing, that if I want to at that time, if I want to do something on my mobile also, then I'm not able to do it, because my brain always focused, my brain always told me that it's time for you to study. You locked your time and you informed someone, so you can't do it. After 2 hours you can do anything. So this kind of mindset has created. So today I just remember that point from your point. Actually, that's why I share it to you.
Thank you. Thank you, AJ, for sharing that. Let's now move to the next point, which we want to talk about when it comes to life hacks. We all go under a lot of situations where there's a lot of stress. There's a lot of pressure when it comes to working people, when it comes to students. At different times, there's a different kind of pressure on us, which people often call as stress. Different names to it. But broadly, the experience of pressure while you are in high intense environments, could be exams, could be your boss, could be your deliverable, you could be a project, could be being married and being a husband, whatever you want to call, high situations where it is very high pressure. The question is, what do you do to manage yourself to pass through this time while still performing? So I want you all to reflect on, how do you go about managing that time where there's intense pressure? Vijaya, welcome back home. Who's going to come up?
Yeah, some family health issue or something like that. What I did actually, I used to go temple. That time I have some strength like that I want actually. Or something a big issue means I want to cry, I will cry. So I came, it came out like that. In office tension means I will divert myself. Actually, I can do what I will do. I used to call my friends and share this is so and so happened like that in office issue. In family means I will speak to her, my wife. Actually, I speak to her. This is so and so happened. Sorry, means sorry. Actually, this is so and so reason my situation is like that. I'm going through this one. So like that, I used to share to her. At present, like that, I'm managing actually. If obviously the health issues, I have to take rest. Again, now a lot of friend circle are there. I used to share with them. This is so and so. You can suggest like that. That I'm doing.
Interesting. Thank you, Ellen, for sharing that. I think it's a very interesting kind of a approach where you push the energy, the buildup of the overwhelming feeling that you have beyond you. So it could be the temple, the god that you want to talk to, or your friends, and diffuse the high tension energy which is happening right now. Release it out so that you're able to survive through and pass through that critical or challenging time that you're experiencing, the high pressure time that you're experiencing. A very good technique. Thank you, Ellen, for sharing that. Priscilla, go ahead. Priscilla, are you there?
Hello.
Yes, Priscilla, go ahead.
Sir, you asked the high intensity pressure management or time management on the time you're asking?
Time is done. So we are not talking of how to manage time. We are talking of how do you manage yourself, the overwhelming feeling that we get or the stress that we experience during high intensive situations.
Okay. Yesterday, I'll tell you live example. Yesterday, I gave 11:30 appointment to my patient. Okay. But that patient, what he told, he postponed the appointment by 1 o'clock. I got very much irritated because I started my journey, and on the way when I was going, I got a call, and he is telling that he is going to some function, so it was late. So he will come by 1 o'clock. So I am on the way. I cannot go to my home also. I cannot go to patient house also. I was irritated. So what I did, I have another appointment by 3 o'clock. So I call that patient. Okay, that patient house is little far from his house. So what I thought, okay, let me finish that appointment and let me come this appointment. So I went, I called and I prefixed that appointment, and I went and finished off that patient. And again, I didn't show my anger to that patient. Okay. And again I called him. I told him, where are you? Okay, he said, I'm here. You can come. So I went there. While I'm going, I was asked. I wanted to ask. I want to show my anger actually. But what I did, okay, we should not show our anger. Instead of that, let's ask what is the reason. What is the reason you postponed it? I talked to myself that I should not show my anger. I should maintain my pressure. So I am talking to myself, thereby I released my pressure, and I went and I openly asked, what is the reason you postponed the appointment? And he told that that function, that her daughter function, because of that, some of the relatives came and he is talking. So he can't avoid that situation. Because of that, the reason was like that. So like that. So thank you, sir.
Thank you, Priscilla, for sharing that. I think it's a very interesting situation. The thing that we're talking about, stress, pressure, is it only in our minds? Can it be only a creation of our mind? Is there a possibility, if we think of it, we can find an alternative? Like Priscilla mentioned, she moved at 3 p.m. back to 12 o'clock or something and used that opportunity. It was just a matter of thinking about finding an alternative. When we are too rigid and look at what is, this patient didn't turn up at 11:30, they told at 1 o'clock. Is your expectation creating the pressure? Is your expectation limiting your possibility of finding an alternative? Ask yourself that. So whenever you're feeling or in the heat or feeling the pressure, ask yourself, am I creating this pressure? Have I given an alternative possibility a thought? Is a question that you can ask. Thank you, Priscilla, for sharing that. Akanksha, go ahead.
So there are two things I do when I'm in the moment of pleasure. The main thing is that I easily get distracted. Plus, I get into pressure situations very easily because of how I procrastinate things till the end moment. I think I've learned to live with the pressure and work better in pressure environments. That now, the quality of work has improved when I'm in the pressure environments. I've seen myself comparing two works done in a normal, stress-free, in a complete, when I have a long time. But that compared to when I have a very shorter period of time to a deadline, the work turned out way better than what I actually intended to be. But when I do feel pressure, even though I'm sometimes completely calm, I do get the pressure too. And what I try to do is that, one, try to remind myself that it is not only, it will pass too. It is not going to be there for the same time. Because with anxiety coming up and all, I have to remind myself too that this will pass too. You won't stay in this for a long time. And second thing, if this doesn't work, I distract myself. If it's about my exams, I put the books away and I enjoy a show or do something. So even though that may not help with the pressure later on, it will still help me stay calm for the meanwhile until I don't feel it that much, until it cools down a little, and then I get back to whatever I'm supposed to do. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Akanksha, there are 2 points which I'm listening from that. Self-awareness. People might say, plan. 10 दिन का plan करके करूं. If you know yourself based on your past observations, and maybe this thing could have worked now, the same thing of a high quality delivery as you progress in other facets of your life, it could backfire too. But important question is, are you aware that you will manage? First point. Second, it is often said in the world of stress management, the problem is stress doesn't kill anyone. It is how you see stress that kills someone. If you believe, there's a research actually which has happened on this, where people who believe they can handle whatever comes, only the belief, not what is actually happening. People who believe they can handle whatever comes are actually having a 0% chance of health issues as a result of stress. While in comparison, people who believe that they may not be able to handle, just the thinking power, the belief, have a 65% higher likelihood of health challenges because of the simple fact of how they think about stress. That is the power on how you're viewing stress, these high intensity situations. If you live with the underlying belief that as a human, I have the power to endure, to up my game, to survive through this. If you believe in that, you will 100% pass through it. But if you're constantly questioning, will I be, can I, how will I, while you're experiencing the situation, that is where the problem is. So a very basic and simple hack, implying from what Akanksha said, trust that you will survive through this. That trust is a superpower that many people do not realize. Just that trust that this will pass, I will survive through it, I'll thrive through it, and I begin. This stress is rather an element which will help me in growing and becoming better. Which will help me up my game, because this is the thing which will help me. That's about my point. Dinesha, and after that, Vijaya.
Sir, my realization, stress will happen in two scenarios. One is the practically the situation is like that, you will get stress. Second is imaginary. The things are in not the worst condition, but we'll be imagining what will happen. In both the scenario, what I'll take finally, what will be the worst case scenario? I'll take that final conclusion. Accordingly, what I can do presently. Even personal life also, even professional life also. What is the best effort? I know what is my strength and weakness. With my strength, this much I can stretch. I'll try to stretch maximum whatever is there. End result, let's give it to God. That's what I work. Things are going smoothly. I'm not getting too much of stress. I'll be calm, happy.
Thank you, Dinesha, for that very simple and yet impactful idea. I think that is where the difference lies. You see a lot of people, even in temples, when they go there, they are praying, but they have a doubt whether God will be able to save me or not. And then there are people who are praying and leave everything to God. The underlying belief is, do you truly believe that God will save you or not? If you believe, you'll focus on what you're doing. If you don't believe, you'll keep doubting whether God exists or not, though you are in the temple sitting and doing something. Thank you, Dinesha, for sharing that. Very interesting points on how you're perceiving the situation, what is under your control and what is not. Vijaya, over to you. Ab dil khol ke baat karo. Sorry, speaker khol ke.
Yeah. So मुझे स्ट्रेस आता है जैसे सबको आता है. सो आई आल्सो गॉट स्ट्रेस, बट अभी जो 5 years में लास्ट, सो आई एम ट्रेनिंग माय ब्रेन और माइंड लाइक दैट कि आया ठीक है, गया लाइक दैट. आई एम ट्रेनिंग. सो इट्स स्ट्रेस मैनेजमेंट इज बेसिकली ब्रेन ट्रेनिंग. सो आई एम ट्रेनिंग माय माइंड. अच्छा हुआ बहुत अच्छा, बुरा हुआ हैंडल करेंगे, like that. So it happens. An example I want to give. On 11th of June, there is my sister's Mela Sangeet in night, and on that day,
आवाज क्लियर नहीं आ रहा है. स्पीकर नीचे है या कुछ हो सकता है.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Yeah, now audible. Go ahead.
So on 11th of June, my sister's Mahila Sangeet was there. And that day only, first monsoon. Yeah. And there were 400 to 500 people were there who came there for seeing that Mahila Sangeet function and for a dinner. Now the rain is like that, power cut and storm and everything was there. So my father is saying that I paid 7 lakhs in this particular Mahila Sangeet and thing is like that. Okay, don't worry. We arrange generator at the last moment. And what? See, suddenly my mind starts searching for the alternative. क्या कर सकते हैं? महिला संगीत तो होना है. We have prepared so many dances, so many programs. So what we can do? That night, it's 11 o'clock. People want to go. So at 11 o'clock, if we are getting light or power, so that is of no use. So I decided, I thought in my mind that can we do it on next morning? So there is a phase 11 to 1. We are all are free. So मैं क्या 2 घंटा है पापा? मेरे पापा को मतलब ऐसा थोड़ा सा डांट देते कभी कुछ ऐसा, तो मैंने उनको बोला एक चीज बोलूं क्या? जस्ट आई वांट टू से इट्स माय माइंड, मेरा माइंड से मेरी दिमाग की ऊपर है. तो बोले व्हाट? सो आई सेड दैट can we do it tomorrow morning? Because we have prepared, so many people have prepared their 18 to 19 dance and everyone has said that we are not able to dance there. Then next time, okay. Next day, it was done and that was the superb one. So that is the case that हमारे brain से train करना पड़ता है कि हम alternative search करें.
Thank you, Vijay. I think very interesting. Thank you for sharing that instance. Akanksha, go ahead.
I just want to share something small here. When in such stressful conditions, I try to move one step at a time. 1 hour now, survive through this 1 hour, survive through a few more hours, and then it's like a whole day will pass by, and that is like relieving because you get to, at the end, you get to go to bed. You get, if you have to cry it out, and after the sleep, waking up next morning somehow feels refreshing, even though you don't just wake up in the morning, and you will be refreshed somehow. So taking it one step at a time does help me a lot.
Thank you, Akanksha. Interesting, very interesting point of this very point which we're talking of, that if there's a big thing happening and we are stressed because it's big, let's take in charge what is there in one step at a time. Thank you for that. Uma ma'am, you'd like to share something?
Yeah. So when life goes like a song, everything is fine. But only when some problem or trauma comes over you, you are overwhelmed and you don't know how to face it. So that is when the support system of family or friends, relatives, everybody come in. And when you share your grief with others, or whatever you feelings that you have with others, they say that joy shared is joy double. Similarly, when you share your sorrows, it is halved. No, so you have to talk it out with others, and then you feel de-stressed. And doing what you like, that also helps you to come out of your stress. I like talking and I like connecting with people. That helps you come out of your stress. Listening to music, I love music, so I listen to that. Listening to positive talks, and that peps me up. So keep doing whatever you like, what you're passionate about, and that definitely de-stresses me.
Thank you.
And living life is one which de-stresses me too. Thank you.
Thank you. I think for sharing those wonderful pointers. I think these are very practical and ideas which are at the ground level implementable, and what I've seen with Uma ma'am also. So with regard to doing what you love helps. I remember while you were all a part of our journey, during the early days of Speaker Club, when my dad was in ICU, I still did a Speaker Club session. Distraction, you want to call, you want to find that 1 hour of peace when not doing anything is not peaceful. Doing what you love is the peace. doing what you love brings the peace to your mind, to your calmness. And when Umam told about support systems around you, focus on when the crisis is there, we start finding where our support system was. The important thing about stress management or these events or these situations is that when they happen, you can't start to build the well. You can't start working on building a system when the crisis is happening. The important thing is, what are you doing when the crisis is not happening? The tides will keep coming in your life, the stress and all those things. What are you doing when the tide is not there? How are you building the support systems? How are you helping people? How are you building your own self with regard to your physical health, doing or building your discipline, doing a routine which is required when the stressful situations are not there? That is when you're working on building yourself to survive through the tide when it actually happens. So when it comes to people, look at how you're building your relationships, not while the crisis is happening and looking for who's there for me. But when the crisis is not there, how are you nurturing relationships? How are you building and serving and helping people? That is what will help you during the tide. But for that, you have to invest when the tide is not there in place. AJ, quickly, and then we'll move to the next point.
Thank you, sir. Actually, which I felt when I was in phase, that I feel that at that time I know everything, that what is good for me, everything, but some blockage will be there. Only negative vibes comes out, positive vibes, all positive vibes, whole is blockage. At that time, I try to remove those blockage, to watch those kind of poor condition people, those kind of poor who is more poor, who is bad condition than me, through video or through remembering those things, and try to speak with positive people so that I can get positive vibes and I can live my life.
Interesting. Thank you, AJ, for sharing that. I think we have had a good number of ideas on how we can deal with managing stress or managing these high intensive situations and the feeling that we have, and how can we pass through them. Let's move to a different subject now. I often call this as productivity hacks, because these are things which on a regular basis, when it comes to the work that you're doing, or how are you managing, not the time specific thing, about how well you're doing and how well you're delivering on the work that you're doing. How can we improve? What works for you in improving and delivering good quality work that you're doing with regard to productivity or doing your work with an impact? Vijaya, Ellen, go ahead.
We used to do proactively, actually. Proactive.
Okay.
So whatever work is upcoming work, so I used to do, actually, I think, okay, this is going to happen next. Actually, I have to proactively, I used to do started preparing that one. Recent lot of things I'm now doing actually in my present life. So the proactive approach, actually, it's helped to me.
Interesting. Not waiting for things to happen and then starting on things. Interesting. Priscilla.
Hi.
Go ahead.
Actually, I have very poor time management. Okay. Previously, when I was treating my patient, I will take 1 hour. I plan actually half an hour only. But when the conversation between both me and is going, I will not see the time, and always I will speak with myself. Why are you wasting the time? You always late. Wherever you go, you always late, like that. I have very poor time management. Then what I did? No. Year after, what I'll do? Half an hour, whatever speak it me, I must keep my eye on the time. Within half an hour, I am going to finish this patient. Like that, I was focused. Now I am achieving that. Thank you.
Thank you, Priscilla. It's 9:57. I think it's time for us to close. And Saturday nights have never been this beautiful for the last, is what I want to say. And like every time, I'm back to where I am, not able to manage time. I believe it's a love that we get and what we do in these sessions that make it happen. And although for the formality's sake, I tell it we'll make it for 1 hour session, but every time we go for 10, 15, 10, 20, 10, 30, and then we if we don't still feel satisfied with the topic, we say part 2 is coming soon, like KGF, Bahubali, everything will come then. That's how it is. Thank you, Priscilla, for sharing that. I think that's a good technique of putting an end. Here we are not putting, because it's the kind of environment and the bond that all of us have together. Had it been a professional meeting, I know each one of you all would want to go back to something else at 10 p.m. and I would have made sure that we are closing it. From the vibe that I get, it isn't the case, and each one of you all are coming by your choice voluntarily and still wanting to spend with us. And so I take the liberty of stretching by 15-20 minutes and sometimes 30 minutes, and then calling part 2, whatever we want to do. So yeah, that's the thing. Thank you, Priscilla, for sharing that. Setting deadlines and making sure you say thank you and close when the time is over is a very good way to make yourself productive, because we have a habit of stretching and making the wrong use of our time by not willing to close at the right time. Who else? Who's coming up next? Vijaya, Dinesha, anyone? Akanksha, go ahead.
Since you mentioned about closing it at a time, I'll say about starting it. Because the main problem is beginning for me. So once the momentum builds up, it's a very easy, because that's when the productivity comes in. But before that, starting is a very hard task for me. So sometimes I think you have to force yourself to start something, even though you may not want to do it, you eventually will finish it anyway. So starting it is important. So that's what I try to do. I force myself. I make sure I begin, because once I begin, I do it anyway.
Akanksha, the question there now is, what is stopping you from beginning? Is it laziness, or is it the lack of clarity, or is it looking at how big the task is, and so I'm not sure where to begin, how to begin? What is the challenge?
One, procrastination. I want to do something else, watch a show, or just waste time than do this work. And two, the work seems too big. Will I even be able to finish it? What if it's like I don't even want to try if I won't be able to finish it? So sometimes I do tend to force myself to begin with at trying, to at least try to finish it.
Interesting. Thank you, Akanksha, for sharing that. For that, I remember one of the quotes that I've shared with you also, and earlier in this Speak Up Club also. At the start, it's not about getting it right. Many a times, each one of us have this kind of, I would want to use this Hindi word, kida, that I want to get it perfect, I want to get it right, I want to do it in the first shot. The reality is, none of us do it. None of us get it right in the first shot. And for that very reason, when I know I'll be making it right or making it perfect only after 4th or 5th attempt or 6th attempt, or as I progress and use and invest myself into it, then the important question is that 4th, 5th, 6th will come only if I do the first mistake right. And that becomes a driving force for me to get going. So the focus is not about getting it right. The focus at the start is about getting it going. Once you start, like Akanksha, you have mentioned, you are sure you get it right. You somehow get it done and get a good work done. It's all about building that momentum. So for that, always remember, whether it's an overwhelm, whether it's an idea of perfection, whether it's a fear of failure, the idea is you will find the answers for all these things only if you begin. Vijay.
For productivity, I do time framing. Time framing means इतने से इतने समय में करना ही है. If I have to make the file, so what I have to do? 3 days दिया, 3 दिन में करना ही है. 2.5 दिन में हो गया, that is good. 4 दिन में लगा, it's good. But इससे मुझे force मिलता है कि I have to start and I have to do something. That is the thing, because see, if we are going for the brushing teeth, so we are not taking 1 hour in that. So there is a time frame that 5 minutes maximum I am taking for that. So whenever we are making time frame, na, so it's makes me serious कि हाँ ये तो करना ही है ऐसा. So उससे मेरी productivity बढ़ जाती है.
Interesting. When it comes to productivity, this is something which I've worked on in different facets. So when I'm looking at any work being delivered, I look at 3 elements. One is time. The second one is quality, and the third one is quantity. Now, the question that you need to ask is, which element are you charging right now? If you're looking at growing, if you're looking at improving your productivity, chase one thing at a time. So if yesterday you got 10 units of work done in 1 hour, if you want to focus on it, try 11 units in 1 hour today, or try the 10 units in 55 minutes today. Look at how you're targeting, and this can happen only if you are quantifying things. Unless you quantify, unless you note it down, unless you put a number or hardcore observation and analysis, you will never feel the change which is coming. And once it is numbered, the change drives because you know what is improvement. People often go to gym, they look at the weight, they look at the body mass index, they look at this, they look at that. That becomes a metric, because unless that metric is there, the productivity visibility of how you're doing it doesn't come. Sabna hath utha liya. Thank you. Dinesha, go ahead.
Sir, my experience when it comes to productivity, we know what we are going to do, right? First thing, we have to start instead of postponing. Second thing, go at micro level, at the end point, improve that. And the third point is, at 1 hour level is over, we have to talk to our colleagues, well-known persons about, like, this is the way project or task which I'm working. These are all the strategies I have applied. Do you look in a different way to improve that? This is what happened. I want to give a 2 example. One, how the garment sector has improved when it comes to productivity, quality, quantity, everything. Earlier, one shirt, one person has to stitch. When the transmission happened in the garment sector, now one person in the collar itself, one person stitch, it will move on to the next person. He will stitch in the one button. Like that, it will go at the end moment. And the end of the batch, there will be 20 people. At the 20 people, the t-shirt will be ready. The same thing earlier when they are manufacturing, each person, one person come to the same place and they have to fix it. It like that it used to work. Then the owner of the Toyota company has observed that one of the fig cutting in the factory, he observed that fig used to be hanged in the place and it used to flow like that. And next person used to do that work. So that he observed, he implemented in the Toyota company. The unit will keep on moving. One person will fix the tire, some part that will move again. Next person will fix some parts. Like that, end of at the last point, the car will be ready. Like that, we have to like simplify and learn new techniques to improve the productivity.
Thank you. Thank you, Dinesh. I think this is one very, very relevant point of how you are finding an idea which is out of place. One idea being implemented in a Toyota car doesn't have to be limited to that place only. It can work out in a different field, like what Vijay is doing right now, or what Ellen is doing in their field of work. They can see the principle and the spirit behind how a thing is working out and how it is being implemented, how can work out, or how it can be implemented in your field. That is one very good idea, where you have to constantly keep pushing yourself on different verticals or different areas which are not common to you, because where what is common to you, you'll find the same problems and same solutions being rotating here and there. Once you move out into a different vertical, different area altogether, you might find something which is innovative there, and you can try that principle. May not be the exact action point, but the principle or spirit into your field of work. Thank you. AJ, go ahead.
In my life, when I try to find productivity on anything, I just face 2 things: that either I love that work, if I love that, productivity will come, and if I have not loved that, I have to take it forcefully, take the challenges. And most of the tasks which is actually beneficial for us, we not love actually, isn't it? We are not. That's why I just started that consistency workshop. And you can't believe, sir, because of that workshop only, I just started 17th October 2021. Because of that workshop, I have got in my life a lot of things, a lot of things. So I actually believe on that consistency. Take a decision, small decision, and try to be a consistent level 1, level 2 in this way. And productivity will come automatically. Productivity will come automatically. People can see you within you, that productivity, which I feel.
Can't agree more to that with the Speaker Club's journey in itself. Today, when I'm looking at 114, and obviously, like Dinesha was mentioning at the start of the session, look at where you were at number 1 or number 10 or number 25 and what you are today. That is the answer for productivity. When you keep consistently doing what you're doing, with obviously a lot of reflection, a lot of learnings and all those things, there is bound to have an improvement in your productivity. Today for this session, if I were to sit and prepare and plan for this session, it was happening for the last 3 hours or 4 hours. The same thing happened. I'm saving time. The same preparation and planning for one session on the first Saturday night happened for over 14 days, after which we launched the program. At around 50th session, this planning still happened for at least over 7 to 8 days. 1 week. As soon as I'm completing today's session, I'm thinking, what will we do next? If you look at the sessions, around 40, 45, 50, you'll see in the second session towards the recording, towards the end, you'll see I'm asking people, what can we do next week? And today, so I'm not saying I'm not committed to it, I'm not planning, but I'm able to do it in a much more productive way, even with 3-hour time frame before the session. Productivity comes with consistency. Thank you, Ajay, for highlighting that. Vijay.
सर वो तो है, कंसिस्टेंसी के साथ प्रोडक्टिविटी आती है, बट व्हाट इज द थिंग ना, वी हैव टू उसको क्या करते हैं, इम्प्रूव भी करना चाहिए. मैंने वही चीज की, जैसे बिजनेस में मैंने वही किया. मुझे पहले कुकी बनाना लगता था 2 घंटा 250 ग्राम, so 250 ग्राम, बिकॉज आई एम नॉट हैविंग सो मच इंस्ट्रूमेंट्स एंड एवरीथिंग. बाउल नहीं है, वो नहीं है, मेजरिंग इंस्ट्रूमेंट नहीं है. then later on what slowly I got to know that I have to purchase this, I have to purchase this, I have to get this, I have to get this knowledge, I have to remove this ingredient. इससे ये इफेक्ट हो रहा है. So later on the time सही हुआ, क्वालिटी सही हुई और क्वांटिटी ज्यादा हो गई. Now in 2 hours I am making 2 to 3 kgs cookies. So that is the case. इससे प्रोडक्टिविटी मेरा बढ़ा. हमको इम्प्रूवमेंट.
Yeah. So yeah, so I was just listening to that. Very well valid point here. Both the points from AJ and Vijaya, both are valid in their own space. AJ's perspective is that the more you are consistent, you won't be able to survive with doing the same things in the same way. You will eventually start looking at how can I improve and how can I make it better. Vijaya's perspective is look at improving and the productivity will happen, and with the improved productivity, the consistency will automatically come in. Both different thoughts, different channels of ideas, but both work in a different way, but both work. The point is that. Thank you Vijay for sharing that. AJ, you want to share something?
Actually, sir, I don't want to share something, but I wanted to speak with you actually for some time, for personally, for that consistency workshop, because I find now difficulties because I don't find any kind of consistent person who can consistent with me. Actually, I want to do it in a bigger format with 1 rupees registration. I wanted to help myself also and others also. I wanted to explain you whole the process first, then you understand if I am incorrect anywhere, wrong anywhere, please suggest me how I can be correct.
AJ, with regard to what you're doing for free is a different aspects with regard to your learning. Here, when I said when you're not having the monetary aspect, it isn't, you are my investment. My time is my investment. Today, if you talk of Speaker Club in itself, if you're just talking of the limited number of members we are having today, we had in the past session number 20, 30, where we had over 60, 70 people also attending the sessions. But today, it's far more important to see the value that you are adding and the consistency that you're bringing, and use this somewhere else. This is my laboratory. This is not my business. This is my laboratory where I'm experimenting ideas, I'm listening to ideas. So today's example, where I got multiple ideas for stress management. So tomorrow, if I'm doing a program on stress management somewhere, I'm going to use all this. Getting my point? So what happens is that
Yes.
what are you using as a laboratory? You could very well, to improve your game, invest money, go learn somewhere, or you could keep scaling up what you're doing in this. Forget about the audience. Forget about the marketing element of it. That is one side of the story. That is one side of the story. Look at how you are upping your game consistently with this laboratory that you have created for you, the world that you have created. So today I'm not chasing. Earlier when we started, like at the start of 10th or 15th or 20th session, I used to send a broadcast list. हर एक को भेजो, आओ, कौन नहीं आ रहा है, क्यों नहीं आ रहा है, मैंने तुमको चैट किया है, क्यों नहीं आ रहा है, क्या हो रहा है, इंटरेस्ट नहीं है क्या, लर्निंग का है, अच्छा अपॉर्चुनिटी, इतने सारे लोग हैं. Today I've stopped because the ones who will value and are getting the value out of the content and what we are doing here will come naturally. When it comes to my paid programs or something which I'm doing outside, I'll work on those things in a different way. This will work in a different way. So again, on the specifics on the things that you're discussing, we can surely discuss and take it offline. But yeah, with regard to the session, these are some of the productivity ideas which we are talking about. Thank you, Vijaya, for sharing, Dinesha, Akanksha, the different ideas that each one of you all shared. Talked about different styles which work for different people, and each one of them get the result for them. So if you have heard something from someone which you want to try, give it a shot. See how it can change your life, how we can make it more productive, or with regard to stress management or different things that we've talked. With that, we are coming towards the end for today's session. We had a lot of other things, but these are open-ended sessions and not too structured and controlled. And so we are always limited by time, limited by the concepts that we can discuss further. For today, I was happy that we were able to discuss about time, productivity, and stress. And I was very happy with the different kind of insights that we have got from different people, different ideas, different thoughts, different approaches, some which work for some and some completely backfire for someone else. But it works for some. So what's important is for you to take away the lessons that you've got from today's session. I hope each one of you all had some interesting insights from something shared by someone here, not just me. Something from someone which you want to take away and start implementing in your life and see how that can make wonders to you. And that is the entire idea of the collective wisdom sessions. You are not alone. The challenges that you are experiencing, the problems that you are finding have been solved somewhere by someone. Hopefully, you find some of the solutions to what you are experiencing right now in the answers that have been given by people over here today. I'm opening it now for any feedback, any thoughts each one of you all would like to share before we close the session the formal way. Over to whoever wants to speak now. Akanksha, go ahead.
This session had so many insights for me, especially with the time management part. You first saw me not speaking because that's a little opposite of what I am succeeding at. Time management is something that has never been working out for me. But this week I would definitely try to put all these insights that I've got from everyone here. Some of which I know will work for me and some of which I know very well that won't work for me. For example, deadlines. Deadlines don't work for me. So I wouldn't try it. So whatever will work for me, I'm definitely going to try it out. And so the session idea in itself is a very good one because all these tiny hacks that could actually help you get your everyday better. So thank you so much for that. And will there be a part 2 for this?
Again, it'll be this being an open generic session. I had other ideas which I wanted to pick up on, like as an example, just to give you the other ideas which were there, which I wanted to work on were relationships. What helps in building lasting relationships or deeper relationships? I want to discuss what has worked for people, about happiness, about some philosophy that you live with, something that works for you, and something that you are an ardent follower and has given you the result for your life in whatever you stand for. So maybe a book or an idea from some book that has helped you. These are things which are as a part of this session which I had again, but like I mentioned, this is not limited or focused on, and I feel these sessions in between somewhere will help rather than having a condensed part 2 and part 3 and part 4 because there's no ending to it. And frankly, the idea is how well are you able to take back from the experiences of everyone over here. The more you pass through time, and the important thing of how are you implementing all these things that you have listened to is the learning and takeaway from this. Otherwise, they're all good stories. You can find a lot of these on YouTube, reading articles on Google, or just talking to someone. There's no benefit, literally nothing of the entire session if you do not try things for yourself. So whatever things you liked, whatever things you said, I didn't try, I didn't know this, or I didn't work out for me, I want to maybe try. I want to see action. I want to listen on those stories where you tried. Okay, last week I heard AJ telling me this thing. I did something of that, and I think it is showing positive results for me. Try it out. I want to listen to those stories, because without action, all this is a good movie and we are all just actors. So think
Yes,
of it
sir.
in that lines. Think of the action part of it. Anyone else would like to share anything before we close the session? Yes, AJ, go ahead.
We have to work on only implementation, and I'm really feeling glad that I'm joining here. And every time when I actually came here, I got a learning and I implement in my life, and it actually I get a lot of things for that. That's why thank you. Thank you,
Thank you,
all
AJ.
of the members, especially thanks to you.
Thank
And
you.
if you want to know from me that what kind of idea from you I implement, I can explain you also. And it's really helped.
Yeah, with regard to that, like I mentioned, please join the sessions at the start at 9 o'clock. We do have a segment wherein we call as reflections, where each member shares their stories of change, not the learnings. I know you have a session and you are not able to join at the start. I know that also, but that is where the
I
problem is.
wish
No, that's
I
okay. That's
wish I
okay. It's
want.
no issues. You can always get back on the learnings part of it in some other format or at the end of the session, and we can keep that open. So yeah, let me close the usual way, and then we can just stick around back and discuss a few things. So closing the usual way. Saturday nights have never been this beautiful for the last 114 Saturday nights now. It's been an honor to be sharing our perspectives, listening to your perspectives, and gaining new perspectives. Thank you for the love that you keep coming back every Saturday night and adding life to our life and to every member of the Speak Up Club family. Thank you. See you next Saturday, 9 p.m. again. Good night, everyone.